Hi there, I'm Davey Cretin, and welcome to Cretin Classics. Tonight we have a very special episode for everyone out there in YouTube land. I have a special guest tonight, and I didn't tell him this before we started, but it's about our 1 year anniversary since he, for the first time, had me on his channel. Welcome everyone, the great Jack Toledano.
Hey, how you doing, Davey? Thanks for having me. Wow, this is a real treat for me.
Thanks for being here. Now, you know Jack from his own channel, All or Nada, according to Jack. You've also seen him on John Klaus's My Music Corner channel. You know him from Sea of Tranquility, too. So he's been all over for the past half decade. But check out his own channel. He's got a lot of cool stuff. More on that later. All or Nada, according to Jack. We'll include a link below this video for Jack's channel. But today we're here for our second episode of Top 12 Tunes. And tonight, they're in the news, sadly, unfortunately. Steven Tyler, the lead singer, his voice is shot now. He can't tour anymore, so they've retired from touring, they said in their official statement. But they did not rule out possibly recording a studio album. If Bon Jovi just did it, maybe Aerosmith can do it. So maybe we have new music to look forward to in the future. But tonight, top 12 tunes of Aerosmith, a band that started in the late 60s, early 70s. They got to deal with Columbia, Sony Music. First record came out in 73. And of course, Steven Tyler, lead vocals. There is also on lead guitar, Brad Whitford, Joe Perry, on bass, Tom Hamilton, and the drummer, Joey Kramer. There were a few member changes here and there, but those are the five guys we're really going to focus on. The guitar players left for an album. They were substituted. What's his name? Crespo and
Jimmy Crespo, yeah.
Jimmy
I
Crespo.
actually saw them on that tour,
Wow, nice.
right
I
in the
only saw
Ruts
them
tour, yeah.
once.
Yep.
Wow, you saw them in this late 70s, early 80s. Crazy.
1980 it was, yeah. Nassau Coliseum.
Who opened? Do you remember?
Mother's Finest.
Wow. The funk metal band.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, they have some good music. I've heard their stuff over the years. But getting on to Aerosmith, we're going to name our top 12 tunes. Jack is going to start. He's going to give his the 12 and 11. Then we'll go to me and bounce back and forth until we finish. And hopefully at the end, we might have some time for honorable mentions as well. So, Jack, take it away.
Okay, Davey. So, having grown up in the town of East Meadow in Nassau County, Long Island, the East Meadow Public Library used to have these little trucks or buses or SUVs or whatever that would go around the neighborhoods where you could actually take things out of the bus, so you don't have to trek all the way to the library. So I actually borrowed this album and never gave it back. It was the album that was painted by Hirschbeck.
Hirschfield or Hirschfeld.
Hirschfield, yes. So my number 12 is the title track, Draw the Line. Uh, Number 11 off of Permanent Vacation. Dude looks like a lady. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
You went for the hit. I'm surprised.
Well, yeah, I did do that. I originally did 1 through 15, but then you said we're doing top 12, and then the last three are going to be, honorable mentions. So I'll get to those afterwards. So that's my
Okay.
12 and my 11.
And your number 12, that I think is your pal Martin Popoff's favorite Aerosmith song. He loves that riff.
Really? It's a cool tune. There's actually, there are a lot of people who said they mailed it in on that album, but I thought that there were some cool tunes on it.
Yeah, there's still some good stuff. It's before the drugs really took over. It was sort of
Yeah.
at the beginning when
Well,
they
I think
took over.
it was about that time because I think Perry was not at a lot of those sessions. And if you look at some of the co-writes, some of them were like band co-writes on side two, and he was not a part of them.
Yeah, and Whitford played a lot of the guitar on that record, and it had some
Yeah.
guests too.
Yes. So,
Bad thing about heavy drugs. Avoid heavy drugs, kids. Don't do them.
right.
Number 12 also comes from the later period, the 80s, the comeback period, but I went for a deep track. 4 minutes and 19 seconds from the 1989 album Pump, written by Tyler Perry and Bryan Adams co-writer Jim Vallance. So they had the song doctors, the songwriters with them. Cut number one from Pump, I went for Young Lust. It's my favorite track from Pump. It's a barn burner of an album opener, and it's the old school 70s throwback Aerosmith. Your friend Pete Pardo said on an episode of Sea of Tranquility a while ago that if you took out a lot of the hits, the overplayed hits from the 80s and 90s Aerosmith's records, you can come up with a really great hard rocking old school throwback album. And I
Right.
think Young Lust is a great song. The underrated rhythm section of Hamilton and Kramer shine here on this song, and Hamilton does some really nice bass runs, and Perry and Whitford have some stinging guitar work through this song. And Kramer, oddly enough, ends the song with a drum solo, which is a little unusual, especially
Yeah.
1989. And I wrote that this is an undervalued gem from the Geffen years. And lyrically, it's totally Steven Tyler. Young Lust, come on. So that's my number 12. Number 11, I'm going back to the halcyon days of yore, to the 70s. Round and Round from Toys in the Attic, 1975. 5
Interesting.
minutes.
Wow.
The Tyler Whitford co-write on this one, track number 8 on the record. And that riff is so sinister. I love that guitar riff. The groove,
Wow.
the solo, the lusty leads, everything about it. Plus, it's not overplayed. That's a very important thing on my list here. Basically, all my songs aren't overplayed. It's an eerie, excellent deep cut, and I love it. So, Round and Round from Toys in the Attic is my number 11.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So you had mentioned about um deep tracks. So I do have some deep tracks in my top 10. And also most of my top 10 are older Aerosmith. So uh
Okay.
people, if you're upset, sorry, what can I tell you? Pete and I, when we did our top 10 Kiss, my very first episode, it was all 70s, but so it goes. It's those are those are the staples that you grew up with. So
Yeah.
uh also this name's gonna ring a bell for you. Our friend Grant Arthur. Uh, he put up this funny post. Saturday Night Fever might be the best movie of all time. Uh,
It's
so to
great.
that, everybody mentioned their favorite movies. So I mentioned that I liked Young Frankenstein, and a lot of people responded to that.
I did see that.
Yes. So basically, what I'm driving at here is this song was actually the title was the inspiration of Aerosmith going and seeing the movie Young Frankenstein, where Igor says, "Walk this way, this way."
Ah,
Yeah, that's where they got that title, "Walk This Way." So that is my number 10. It's it's not my favorite, but it kind of needs to be in the list because it's probably their biggest hit.
yeah, and that riff.
Yeah, yeah.
Great riff, catchy as heck.
Now number 9 um, is is a song off of Get Your Wings, their second album, and it is a cover of an old Yardbirds tune. Train Kept a Rolling. That's another great riff. Uh,
Yep.
and I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame about a week or so ago, and I did see some Yardbirds artifacts, and that's going to be the basis of one of my episodes coming up. I'm going to do a slideshow of that, but oddly enough, I didn't really see any Aerosmith paraphernalia other than
Ooh,
an Aerosmith pinball machine.
nice.
Oddly enough, yeah. So right, so number 10, Walk This Way. Number 9, Train Kept a Rolling. Da, na, 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 na. Great tune,
Another
and a
great
song
riff.
that they usually close their shows with.
Oh yeah, it's a live staple for a long time.
Yeah.
Going back to
Yep.
the 70s with the live bootleg album. It's on there.
Yep. And that live bootleg album was in my top 20 live 80s. I am working my live albums of the 70s. I'm sorry. I'm actually working on live albums of the 80s right now. So,
And that's a good
all
episode of
right.
Jack's channel. You should check it out. Okay, my number 10 comes from the early 90s. It's a 4-minute song from 1993's Get a Grip, written by Tyler Perry. And again, Jim Valance, oddly enough. Eat the Rich. It's cut
Nice.
number 2 on the album after a 24-second intro. And I love the intro of this song where all the four musicians come together to form the bed of the song. It's got a real catchy chorus by Tyler, and he just like dances and struts over the verses, and then he comes in strong on the chorus. It's got nice guitar riffs on the pre-choruses, a stinging guitar solo on this song. It actually reached number 5 on the Billboard mainstream rock charts, and it hit number 45 in Canada and number 34 in the UK. So it did kind of well a little bit around the world, and I think it's a good, undervalued, deep album track. Coming in at number 9, going back to the 70s, an album you just mentioned, but a different song. 4-minute and few seconds song from 1974's Get Your Wings, written by Steven Tyler, another one of his lusty anthems, Lord of the Thighs.
Nice song. Yep.
Yeah. It's got a great Joey Kramer drum intro, and then the band all kick in. And I love Tyler's subtle piano riff before his lead
Yeah.
vocals kick in on this song. Brad Whitford plays lead guitar on this, and Perry does a lot of slide work on it.
That almost made my list.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
And the song has actually been covered by Danzig and also the Breeders, the 90s, basically all female alt rock band. And I love Tyler's laid back, laconic vocals and just that groove. Aerosmith, they have so much groove. Joey Kramer and Tom Hamilton, that rhythm section, definitely underrated. And they add a lot to every song. And I guess you could say this song is about Steven Tyler's love of chicken. Lord of the Thighs is my number 9.
Nice. Okay. So my number 8, you mentioned about deep tracks. So this is my number 8 is a deep track off of Toys in the Attic, their third album, which really hit like the hydrogen bomb.
Mm-hmm.
No, no more, no more. Da, 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 da. I love that little lick in the beginning. Da, na, 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 no, good stuff. Great song. That's a Tyler Perry song, and yeah, it did get some airplay on WPLJ years ago, I believe.
I used to love that station.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, number 7 needs no introduction. The very famous song off of uh, their first album, Dream On. Uh, Reason being, you know what? That has just been a staple for God knows forever. I mean, that great piano, and you have what else? You have the Mellotron, and then some great solos by Joe Perry. Uh, I have it, and I put this up on Facebook recently. I took a picture from the top of Madison Square Garden, and I was able to really focus in because what they did was they came out the center stage, and I was able to get a great picture of Tyler and Perry on that middle stage on the piano, and and then standing on top of the piano, and Perry with his guitar riffs and stuff. It was very cool. So
Nice.
yeah, my memory of that song.
Are
So
those are your 2?
yes, so no more, no more. Number 8, number 7, Dream On.
Okay, moving on to my number 8. From the album that does not have Whitford on guitar, actually it plays on one song. It has Jimmy Crespo and do you remember the other guy? Oh, Rick Dufay.
Yes, Rick Dufay.
Rick Dufay. So it's from Rock in a Hard Place, 4.5 minutes, 1982. This record came out, written by Tyler, Jimmy Crespo, and Richard Supa, Supa. Cut number 2 on the album, Lightning Strikes. And there's a very cool video for this that, from what I heard, they played on MTV way before I had MTV. This track reached number 21 on the Billboard mainstream rock chart. And it's the only song here with Jimmy Crespo on lead guitar and Brad Whitford on rhythm guitar. It's the only song he plays on this album is Lightning Strikes. Called
Wow.
this song on the radio and I liked it. So this got airplay in New York in the early 80s. I love Tyler's synthy intro because he plays the bulk of the keyboards on the Aerosmith records. And then the power chord and cymbal crashing intro. And it has that sinister, evil sound. Another great Joey Kramer drum groove. Tyler's vocals, Crespo's lead guitar work. Great song because it's not overplayed. So I love Lightning Strikes. That's my number 8. Moving on to my number 7, a track you just mentioned from Toys in the Attic, No More, No More.
Nice. Okay.
Love this song. It's a very melodic, deep track about life on the road. And the lyric, Found My Horse and Carriage, refers to the band pulling Steven Tyler along through all the troubled times on the road.
Oh, wow.
I love the groovy guitar leads from Perry and nice piano work from Scott Cushnie. Cushnie. And it's a really good sing-along tune, No More, No More.
Yeah.
So that's my number 7. Excellent song, and that's our first crossover.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm sure there'll be more as we go up the list. So my number 6, going back to, I didn't think I would have 2 songs off of Get Your Wings, but I do. Number 6 is the opening track, and it was played on stage the first time I saw him in 1980.
Wow.
Same old song and dance. Really good number. And then he go, I love the saxophone played in that song. It really adds a nice groove to it. So that's cool. That's one thing that you would never get from Kiss, saxophone. Yeah. Number 5 is the first of my songs that are co-written by rhythm guitarist Brad Whitford. Last Child off of Rocks. You will be seeing some more off of Rocks. Love it. And that's just a great riff. Basically throughout the song. So freaking cool. Yeah. And take me back to South Tallahassee. Good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, my number 6 comes from their comeback album, 1987, almost 5 minutes long, cut 1 from Permanent Vacation, Heart's Done Time. Nice. And I remember I was working at Mr. Cheapo's where we met many years ago, and my coworkers used to play that album all the time. That's how I really got into Permanent Vacation and working at Mr. Cheapo's. Even though it was a year after it came out, they were still playing it. Big Joe was playing it. The late Leah was playing it. So great album, Permanent Vacation. If you take away the 3 overplayed songs, you still have a really good 9-song hard rockin' album that is a throwback to the old Aerosmith sound.
Right.
So I put on this one hard rockin' melodious tune that begins with whale sounds, guitars and sirens, and then Kramer just pummels his drums. And Hamilton has this little 3-note bass run, boom, 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 yeah. Boom, boom, that's repeated. That's a hook in itself. All Aerosmith songs, they're very hooky. And a lot of times you don't get that in hard rock bands. The drums are hooks, the vocals, the bass, the guitars. So that's the great thing about Aerosmith. That's why they did so well for decades. And not many bands have that longevity. What else did I write here? It's a great rock song. And like I said, if you take away the 3 big hits, you still got a great record. My number 5.
Oh, okay. You haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, Heart's Done Time.
Heart's Done Time.
But if you take away Ragdoll, Angel, and Dude Looks Like a Lady, the 3 big hits that got so overplayed by rock radio, pop radio, and MTV, you still have an excellent album, I was saying. Right. My number 5 is the title track from Toys in the Attic. Cut 1, Toys in the Attic, written by Tyler and Perry. It's a fast-paced, frantic rocker that's just balls out fun. And I hear Hamilton here on the bass. You hear his bass high in the mix. Yeah. I love hearing Tom Hamilton high in the mix. And I enjoy the rhythm section immensely on this song. Perry's leads are great. The riff by Whitford is great. This was covered by Rat, Metal Church, Warrant, and even REM covered this.
Nice.
A
Wow.
B-sides collection that came out in the late 80s. So that is my number 6, Hearts Done Time, and number 5, Toys in the Attic. Over to you, sir.
Wow. Well, my number four is pretty easy because that is my number four. Uh, Toys in the Attic
Sweet.
um, title track. But that song was actually, when I saw them in 1980, that was their closing number before the encore.
Okay, then did the proper set.
Yes, it ended the proper set, but it's almost like a speed metal song. Yeah. Uh, you know what? I just love it. It's just so nice, so really fast paced, and another great riff. Yeah. Throughout the song, yeah, another Tyler Perry creation. To number three, the song that they actually opened with when I saw them 12 years ago at Madison Square Garden, off their first album, Mama Kin. That is their number three. Yes. Great. Another great tune.
Okay, my number 4, you mentioned already, From Get Your Wings at nearly 4 minutes, 1974, cut number 1, Same Old Song and Dance,
Yep.
Tyler and Perry. This one, oddly enough, though, has Dick Wagner on lead guitar here.
Interesting.
I like Tyler's lyrics, the rhythm section, the rhythm guitars, and even the horn section I wrote, like you said, all add up to make this a classic song in their career. And then my number 3 goes to your album that you just mentioned, Rocks from 1976. This hit number 38 on the Billboard chart, which I was really surprised with. The first track, 4 minutes, 40 seconds, Back in the Saddle. Another
Yep.
Tyler Perry co-write.
Unfortunately, that's another song that just missed my list. Yeah.
Okay.
You can have them all.
I'm sorry, what?
I said you can't have them all.
Yeah, they have so many great songs. It's hard to
Yeah.
whittle it down to 12. Perry wrote the music for this song on a 6-string Fender bass guitar, and Tyler's lyrics were inspired by every spaghetti western he ever saw, and of course, sex, because it's Steven Tyler.
Right.
For the sound effects in this song, a real bullwhip was used, but it didn't work. So instead, they took a 30-foot mic cord and whirled it around the room, and it was in the middle of 6 mics. And then they added a cap gun to imitate the whip cracking sound effect. And
Interesting.
yeah, so they used the studio sort of like the Beatles did. They were experimenting on how to add sounds to the track. And the clinking spur sound in verse 1 was created by Joe Perry and New York Dolls singer David Johansen, of all people,
Wow.
attaching bells and tambourines to Steven Tyler's cowboy boots. And Tyler got the galloping horses sound effect using coconuts from a percussion kit he ordered.
Oh, good Lord.
So
Wow.
they used a lot of stuff to make this song and make it sound sort of like a spaghetti western tune. I love the great.
Too bad they didn't know Rob Halford. He could have helped them with the bullwhip. Yeah.
That's when Priest were just getting started in the mid 70s and
Yeah.
different country too. I love the great intro build up and Whitford on lead guitar because Perry is actually playing 6-string bass on this song.
Yep.
And they use this song to open a lot of shows and tours in their career.
Yep.
And it's just a legendary song covered by Sebastian Bach with Axl Rose on Sebastian Bach's 2007 solo album. Also covered by singer-rapper Aloe Black. And an Aerosmith tribute CD featured Mark Slaughter, Rudy Sarzo, Frankie Banali on the basic track, and guitars were by Albert Lee, Bob Kulick, sorry, almost got the wrong brother there, and
Right.
Bruce Boulier, if I'm pronouncing his name right. And the song was used by NASCAR from the 2007 to 2008 season. It was in the action film Red, and a politician was using it in the late 2009, actually, until he was threatened with copyright infringement, and then he dropped the song, so he didn't get sued by the band.
Wow.
So Back in the Saddle is my number 3. Take it
Okay.
away, sir.
All right. So it's funny that you mentioned the album Rocks because my numbers 1 and 2 are off of Rocks because that is such a great freaking album. I think it's their best album. So their number 2 also played in that 1980. They did open with Back in the Saddle in that 1980 concert, by the way. But
Excellent.
they also played this number, the third track of the album, Rats in the Cellar. Loved it. Freaking love that song. Another great riff. Yeah. Going under rats in the cellar, skin turning yellow. I just, such very clever lyrics, I thought. Yeah.
It's very fast
Yeah.
paced.
Yes. New York City Blues.
Just, yeah. On the
Yeah.
drums, Joey Kramer, great song.
And then towards the end, my friend Mr. Pardo does not like harmonica. I don't know why, because I love it. And I think it adds a very nice touch at the end of Rats in the Cellar where Steve is finishing the outro with a harmonica, which I think is really cool. So number one, probably another really deep track off of Rocks or in general. This is another Brad Whitford co-write. Probably I think one of their heaviest early songs, the song Nobody's Fault. That's my number one.
It's a good choice.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, love it. Very heavy. To me, that is the Aerosmith that I always want to remember. I think they actually played it the last time I saw them at the Garden. Yeah.
Sweet. Isn't that the song the Testament covered?
Could be, yeah. Could very well be. I mean, it's one of the heaviest tunes, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Testament covered that in the late 80s.
And I know I read. I mean, I flipped through Joe Perry's book, and he even did praised Tom Hamilton and Brad Whitford's co-writes. Where he wasn't around to do some of the songwriting, where they stepped in, and yeah, he thought they did a good job. And adding to some of the album tracks to fill the albums out. So
Yeah, they recorded an album a year, so they had to have songs. So
yeah,
all the band members had to pitch in back in the day.
oh yeah, it's the way it should be. Yeah,
A real band. My number two, I'm going to get a little proggy here. 5 minutes and 38 seconds long. Cut number 7 from 1974's Get Your Wings. And I'm going with Seasons of Wither.
Seasons of Wither. Yeah.
And of course, I'd have a ballad type proggy or near prog song near the top of my list. Tyler's on acoustic guitar on this song. Brad Whitford's on lead guitar. And Joe Perry says it's one of his favorite ballads that Steven Tyler ever wrote. And the song starts off with crowd noise that was taken from the end of the previous song that you picked, Train Kept a Rolling. And then you hear a wind sound effect, and Tyler's acoustic guitar starts off the song. And it takes over about 50 seconds into the track. And Tyler was inspired to write this song by the bleak Massachusetts winter and the terrain and topography. And he was angry about paying taxes, he said.
Wow.
And he was high on Tuanols. Sorry. And Secanols. And he lit some incense and just wrote the song on a beat up 4-string guitar that Perry had given him. And I love this song, Seasons of Wither. It's a great, eerie ballad, and it has a nice build, and it's very, very melodic. That's my number two. And my number one, their most proggy song of all time, 4 minutes, 55 seconds long from 1977's Draw the Line. Cut number 6, Kings and Queens is my favorite Aerosmith song.
Guillotines.
Exactly.
Wow. Interesting. Wow.
And this one is written by Tyler, Whitford, Hamilton, Kramer, and producer Jack Douglas, who was with them throughout the 70s.
Right.
And sort of a sixth member of Aerosmith.
Right.
Tyler and again, this guy, Scott Cushney, played piano. Mandolin on this song was played by Jack Douglas. Perry's playing rhythm guitar because Whitford's doing the leads.
Uh-huh.
And Tyler said the lyrics were inspired by a medieval fantasy about a rock star. This actually reached number 70 on the Billboard singles charts. And it's about how many people died in holy wars throughout history. And It was covered by Glenn Hughes. And it was also a master track song in the video game Guitar Hero. And I love this hard rock and proggy tune and that great proggy breakdown section, like the middle eight with the bass fills that Hamilton is doing, and just the mellotron or synth that Tyler's playing. Great song. Kings and Queens is my favorite.
So Perry actually plays on that song because he
Yeah,
was
rhythm guitar.
he was not he didn't have a co-write for that song. That's strange. I wonder what that's all about. Basically, it's one of those things where they wrote it in progress. The band just sat down and during their sessions, and he probably just wasn't there. So very strange, but good choice. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like to do some honorable mentions now, Jack?
Yes, I have three. Okay, so number or my number 15 off of Done with Mirrors. It was a song that was originally played during Joe Perry project, his little project when he left. Let the music do the talking. Really cool tune. That was a song that I first heard when I was up at college at SUNY New Paltz on station WPDH in the in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, they talk about that station all the time on Sea of Tranquility.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, it's a pretty decent station. Introduced me to a lot of music that I hadn't listened to before. Yeah,
Nice.
really good college station. Yeah. Okay, number 14 off of Pump, Loving an Elevator. Loving an elevator. I thought that was I like the vocals at the end where they where they join their vocals going down. Pretty
It's
cool.
very catchy.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned Permanent Vacation from my third um from my third honorable mention, song Ragdoll, and I'll tell you why. I've seen them play it twice on stage, and I just loved wait, yeah. It was what's his name? Joe Perry's actually playing a lap steel guitar on stage for that song, and he's got distortion on it. It's a really cool sounding song, I thought. So that is my third honorable mention.
Okay, my three honorable mentions from Permanent Vacation. I'm going to go the last song on the record, track 12. It's a band co-write. All five guys wrote it, and it's an eerie, cool instrumental called The Movie. And if you haven't heard it, check it out. It's a really good deep track because for Aerosmith to do an instrumental, they don't have too many. I think a couple appeared on their Pandora's box set that came out in the early 90s. I think Pandora's box came out. So the movie is my number 15. My number 14 you mentioned. I couldn't leave it off the list. I don't get sick of it for some reason. Dream On from the first album. It's a great ballad. It's haunting. It's beautiful. It has that great Tyler vocal where he just gets higher and higher, screeching. And it's an excellent song. It hit number 6 when they re-released it in 1976. And my number 13 honorable mention comes from Toys in the Attic. It's a cover song, just a little over 2 minutes long, big 10-inch record.
Nice.
It's a
That
funny
almost made
song.
my cut also. Yeah.
It was originally written by Fred Wisemantel, if I'm pronouncing his name,
Yes.
and an
Yep.
inside one with a flare on Toys in the Attic. That's
Yep.
probably my favorite Aerosmith album. It's the first one I heard back in the day when I wasn't even a teenager yet. My friend's older sister had it, and I remember hearing that, Queen, A Night at the Opera. That was like my introduction to album rock and roll back in the day. So
Right.
that's my honorable mention list.
That's yeah, that's a good song, and yeah, that almost made my cut. But one song that I noticed that didn't make either of our lists, and I was a little surprised, but I don't really care for the song. Sweet Emotion.
It's a great song. It's just overplayed.
Yeah, I mean, I love the rhythm, but you know what? Just doesn't really do it for me. It's one of those songs where I feel like the chorus has nothing to do with the actual verses. It's like they just threw a chorus in there for.
And I love Tom Hamilton's bass playing on that song. I think his
Oh
bass
yeah,
makes the song.
but I mean, what does Sweet Emotion have to do with the lyrics leading up to it? Talk about things that nobody cares, or yeah. How is that Sweet Emotion?
That's
Who,
Tyler's warped mind for you.
you know, sounds like one of those deep conversations that I had, in Newport after, we passed a bong around years ago. And yeah.
And those are our top 12 tunes by Aerosmith with some honorable mentions. And we only had about 3 or 4 songs crossover. But my initial list actually had 33 songs on it. So I had to whittle
Wow.
from 33 to 12 and then the 3 honorable mentions. Like I said, they have so many great songs, and I was being conservative. I probably could have listed 50 songs.
Wow. What amazes me is how you write everything out. I do everything in spreadsheets.
And I just do it old school by hand. I use the yellow legal pad and write it all out.
What I did do, so the other last week we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I wanted to do an episode in front of the building, so I actually did about a 5 minute critique of the new Deep Purple album, and for that I had some notes
Okay.
because I had to do everything on my iPhone. I didn't have the luxury of my home computer and my work computer for my notes and stuff like that, but my normal setup is I try to be as technological as possible, but all except for being able to sew the episodes together, like.
That's what I have the great Tia for to help me with. So, Jack, you just mentioned your channel, All or Nada, according to Jack. So, why don't you tell the folks what you have coming up or what you just put up on your channel?
Funny thing that you mentioned that. So last week I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm gonna have an episode about that. And I know it is a much maligned place for a lot of people, and we actually do cover that topic. Even inside, they have this thing where you can vote for the bands that are not in there that you want them to be in there. And I, of course, voted for Jethro Tull, and I got it up on the screen. But and then they had like a list of like the top bands that people want to see get in there. Take a guess who number one was.
I don't even know if I should guess. Who's the number one?
Iron Maiden.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I absolutely applaud that. There's no way on earth they should not be in there. But
And Judas Priest should have gotten in too.
well, they did get in.
Officially, not this weird category they put them in under.
I mean, you know what though? That's like a double entrende. I mean, it's like they got in for what they call musical excellence. So that in itself, I think, is a great compliment. But no, not to change the subject, but so I had been thinking of a new topic to come up with, and think something that I didn't really have to research, things that were like in the top of my head. So I thought about why not come up with uh, something about like concerts that I've been to in the past. So and I was having a little bit of a writer's block coming up with a name for for these episodes. But then what happened? I'm walking through the gift shop in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and while I was disappointed, I couldn't find a good T-shirt. I mean, they sold T-shirts that looked like would basically break down in the wash after about 3 washes. So, not going to waste my money there. Not really much. So, I always buy collecting magnets because I everywhere I go, I have magnets on both of my refrigerators and both of my homes to put up. But as I'm standing in line, when you walk through the line at like TJ Maxx or Marshalls, and they have those little corridors where you can buy more stuff. I saw this,
Ah, concerts remembered.
a journal. So I'm like, there you go. There's my topic. So I may actually fill it in. There's like a whole bunch of things you can do, but basically this is going to be the basis of my next topic, and I have a couple right off the bat. Uh, I want to do one for Aerosmith as my own commemoration to the fact that they're not doing concerts anymore. and I've seen them now 3 times, and they were all very memorable shows. So there's that. I was skimming through YouTube, and I saw this concert, full concert of Judas Priest on Halloween night in 1998 at Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan.
That's
Now
with Ripper Owen era.
yes, yes. Now I had been to that show. That's another episode I want to talk about. So I'm going to do these every once in a while. And had somebody come with me to Symphony X, he could have been on with me.
All
But
right. Hey, at least we made it to a Mets game together.
with that we did. Ball games remembered. I will say this though, my biological brother that you once saw on my channel a couple times, I'm jealous of him because guess where he was yesterday?
What show?
No show, stadium, Wrigley Field.
Oh, Chicago.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
there on business, so he got to go to the Cubs game in Wrigley Field. So
Did
I'm
they win the Cubs yesterday?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's another episode. I want to talk about this Haley Welch and the whole idea of her throwing out the first pitch at the Met game. That's
Very
another episode.
strange.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, my future son-in-law George actually brought that to my attention, and there's been a lot of mixed opinion on that, whether or not she should have been there, and people are like, oh, how could you like malign her for doing what she does? And for me, it's not about that. I mean, we have our channel, we do our own thing. We don't have a problem with if she wants to make money that way, power to her. But my problem is with the Mets doing that. Couldn't you get a better guest, a more honored guest? You have all these people that that served the former people that served in the military that you're honoring, that you show them a little blurb for 2 seconds on your Titantron or whatever. And meanwhile, you got this person of questionable moral quality throwing it, throwing moral fiber, throwing out a first pitch. So that's another episode.
It's the Mets. What can you say?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, and that brings us back to that's our first episode together was when Davey was on with me to talk about the Mets.
Yeah, last August. It's about a year since then. So thank you for
Wow.
giving me my first break.
Right. Okay. Very cool. I'm happy to have helped you that way. So thank you for recognizing that.
And Jack is going to be back on the channel. We'll probably do another top 12 tunes show. And we're going to be ranking the albums of a progressive metal band, although I will not reveal the band yet. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be getting together
I'm
to
still
do
working
that.
on that. I actually listened to them about within the last couple weeks, but it's just trying to fit that all in with all this other stuff going on.
Because they're in the CD age, they have long albums. Their albums are an hour long. It's not
Yes.
like a 70s band where the records are 30, 35 minutes long. This is
Yep.
a lot more music, and because it's progressive metal, it's a lot to remember and get into. It's not a pop song, which you could digest easily. So
Agree. Yeah.
that's why it takes some time to get into it. But I want to thank Jack for coming on to Cretan Classics today. I'm going to have more guests on for more top 12 tunes shows in the near future. And I am finally ready to record my Blue Oyster Cult album ranking, which should be recorded soon and up hopefully within a week after that. So thank you for coming on, Jack.
All right.
And check out Jack on All or Nada, according to Jack on YouTube. The link will be below us. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Rock out, prog on, and pogo, and we'll see you soon on Cretan Classics. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.